Hello, everybody. Welcome to our third lesson in our course Basics in Artificial Intelligence. For our third lesson, we're going to look at AI for personal and everyday uses. So, these are your general purpose AI applications. For most people, when you talk of general purpose AI applications, they default to ChatGPT. But for the purposes of this lesson, we just want to cover the key factors that we need to consider when we're choosing our digital helper. In this lesson, we'll cover the key factors, and then thereafter, we're going to go and we're going to look at each general purpose AI application. We're going to specifically look at 6 general purpose AI applications. We're going to look at Chat GPT, we're going to look at Claude, we're going to look at Copilot, we're going to look at Meta AI, we're going to look at Gemini and Perplexity. Please note that there are other general purpose AI applications, but for this course, we are going to specifically look at these 6. So don't worry, we're going to look at how you can access them, how you can in the cases where installation needs to be installed, how they're going to be used. We're going to um, go step by step in terms of how these applications work. But this lesson is just basically to set a foundation in terms of the key factors that you will need to consider when choosing the best digital helper for your personal and everyday uses. So let's get into these key factors. The first key factor that we'd want to look at is primary use cases. What do I mean by primary use cases? It basically means what exactly do you need the AI to do for you? For example, you may want to look for an AI that's your all-in-one, so to speak, where you have a general purpose chatbot that covers most of the things that you need. Like for example, if you just want to ask questions, you want to read about history, you just want to find information, it depends that what exactly you want the AI to do for you. In this case, you're then looking probably at a general purpose AI application. But then in some cases, you want something that's more specialized. Like for example, if you want to go into graphic designing, you may consider wanting to use something more specialized like Canva AI, or you want to go into filmmaking, you want to use something like Grok AI, and then music creation, you may want to use Suno AI. Please note that some of these more specialized AI applications, we are going to discuss them in other further lessons. So currently, I'm just mentioning them as examples in terms of what in general or what in specific you may want to use the AI for. Then number two, you'd also want to consider the current ecosystem integration that you're in. What do I mean? Your digital space. Are you a person who's using a mobile phone? Are you a person who's using a desktop? Like, for example, if you're using a mobile phone and then it's Android based, what it essentially would mean is that you'll probably live within the Google workspace. So because you live within the Google workspace, Gemini AI would be, very accessible to you, and because it's already integrated within the workspace that you're currently living in. Then let's say you're a person who predominantly works on their laptop and you're using your Windows, your Microsoft 365, then it would mean that the assistant that will probably be already integrated to your current digital space would be Copilot. So you're basically looking at your digital workspace, and because when you look in your digital workspace, you're then seeing that the closest general purpose AI will be what easily integrates into that. And then number three, we're going to look at data privacy and security. So this is very important because, for example, if you are looking for an AI application that you'd want to use, especially let's say you're in a workspace, you're actually working, you're employed, you'd then have to find out if that AI would actually integrate well in terms of your company's security policies, and whether you'd be able, for example, to be allowed to process certain information of it. And then the other thing is also on a personal level, there's some sensitive information that you want to remain private. So you'd also want to see that if that AI application that you're using, does it allow you to set off certain settings so that your information remains private. So you'd want to consider certain things like that. And then number 4, you'd also want to consider things like reasoning capacities and accuracy. So each AI model processes information in a certain way. So, for instance, for complex logic, for deep analysis, you may want an AI assistant powered by a more robust thinking model, heavy thinking model. So it will depend in terms of how far you'd want the AI application to go. So let's say you only need it for casual conversation or basic writing. So it will mean that maybe you'd want to use a lighter or even a faster model, and that would be sufficient for your needs. So when you're choosing an AI application to use, you then need to consider that. Then number 5 is the cost and value. Sometimes you need to look at some of these AI models and then AI applications and see whether the free version will meet your needs, or if you'll have to pay a subscription in order for your needs to be met. So in some cases, you have your AI model meeting your needs without you necessarily paying anything, and then you then settle for that. But then in some cases, you may want to derive more value, and you're happy with the way the AI model is actually processing the task, as opposed maybe to all the other AI models, and then you want to pay for that. But it will then depend with you whether or not you're in a position to pay, or you're not in a position to pay. So that will be a factor that will determine whether you can use the model or not. Then the last one is number 6, interface and accessibility. Uh, how you interact with the AI application matters. Are you a person who wants to be texting, or you're a person who wants voice activation? All those things matter, because it means sometimes you're in environments where you cannot use your hands and you really want the AI model to be voice activated. So all those things would affect your ability to use and the usability of the AI. So now we've looked at all the six factors that you need to consider when you're choosing your digital helper. In our next lesson, we want to look at our 6 general purpose AI applications. We're going to start off with ChatGPT. We're going to move on to Google Gemini. We're going to move on to Cloud. We're going to move on to Microsoft Copilot, Perplexity AI, Meta AI. We're going to look at how these functions, how we can access them, and what each model has in terms of what it's best used for, and also in terms of the strengths. Thank you so much for joining our third lesson. We'll see you in the fourth lesson. If you have any comments, or you've got any questions pertaining to the key factors, please do drop them in the comment section. Would really love to hear from you. Take care. See you in the next lesson.